farmer. Why not? Farmers, when it comes to automobiles and fixing things, by far the best.
Thanks for tuning into the special edition of RENSHAW Report. More of the eye, reporting from the city too tough to die in London. Special guest today, guy that I lost track with for a long time, but was lucky enough to meet up with him at the Italian Dramatic Club, best meal in America, by the way. Billy Harman, famous race car driver, athlete, personality, character, true friend, and I think he'll bring back a lot of good memories for anybody that watches the show. Billy, thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
I appreciate it. And me being a friend of yours is very important, and I've known you for a lifetime, it seems.
We have. Before we get going, just wanted to mention our condolences to the Lancaster family, because we lost a great one. Spencer Lancaster passed away, and I've been friends with Spencer for a long time. Nobody, just the nicest man, one of the nicest men you'd ever want to meet. Spencer was very, very proud of his service to our country, where he served in the, I believe it was the 82nd Airborne back in the day. And he told me many stories about that and other things, but our condolences to the Lancaster family. He sold me my first and only new truck, 72 Dodge. He was a Leonard Dodge.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because I bought, with my business, we bought 3 vehicles from Spencer, and the only reason we went there was because of Spencer. The Lancaster family was just outstanding.
Tremendous people.
Terrific.
Tremendous people. So, as I said, I was lucky enough to meet up with Billy at the Italian Club, and he was with Dickie Morgan. Johnny Lombardi was there. A lot of people were there, but I hadn't seen you in years, Bill. No. And I'll always remember when my grandson was in grade school. This was back a long way. Bill was driving by on Niles Hill Road, and I waved to him. He stopped, and I introduced you to my grandsons. He pulls out a poster with Billy Harman, race car driver, signs it for my grandson. Still on his wall, Billy. I'll never forget the day. But let's start from the very beginning, because you're originally from New London. Tell us a little bit about how it started for you when you're growing up in New London.
Well, I was born and raised in 1937 in New London. My mom, she's the mother of 9 of us, 5 boys and 4 girls. And I was lucky enough to be number 8, because there's only 2 of us left now. I am the oldest living Harman, I was told just this week, ever to survive all these years at 86 years old. My father was a Navy officer. That's how I became a New London resident. My mom was from Nova Scotia, and through the Navy, he met her in Maine. And then went on to have 9 children. And my father was an inventor. He invented the automatic steering device on your ships and subs, which we're very proud of, the family is. And with no education, he did this. He was called an electrical genius. H.A. Harman, Hyde Alexander Harman, from New London, Connecticut. So that's quite a story. And of course, from then I went on to all the New London high schools, all the schools in New London. Attended New London High School in 52 through 56. I played ball for New London High School. I was a captain of the team with Charlie Petchock. And, had a great career, a very good career in basketball. I did play some semi-pro ball down Ocean Beach, which they call it semi-pro back then, but playing with some of the better ball players in the country, in New England anyway. But
so you had a two-handed set shot, Bill? Is that what it is?
I shot a two-handed set shot from 30 feet out.
Now that's to be a 3-point shot today.
Oh, today's 3 points. And the Norwich Bulletin posted something about 7, maybe 10 years ago that they brought my name up. If in my day they had a 3-point rule, I would have probably averaged 25 to 30 points a game. I shot 70% from 30 feet out. I worked awful hard at it. And I remember playing Hartford Buckley. Buckley was a 30 by 60 gym, very small. And 30 by 60, so I'm shooting in practice from half court. People coming in all stopped around and watching, who's this nut shooting from half court? Well, that's where I shot from 30 feet. In our place, it was with 90. We were 84 feet deep. Up there, they were only 60. So I remember having a crowd around just watching. Who is this guy shooting from 30 feet out?
Who were some of the players that you played with in high school?
Johnny Contoulis was our senior, was our center. Les Williams was also a center. Snake Williams, great guy. Richie Conover. Dookie Avery. Charlie Petchock. My junior year, it was Dookie, Angie, DeVivo, myself, Jimmy Epps, Joe Riley. That was my junior year, and I was a starter on that team. So I had wonderful memories about playing ball. It was a wonderful experience for me.
Now, where did you start shooting baskets, Billy? When did that happen?
My freshman year, I played a lot of ball with Jimmy O'Connor. He was 4 years ahead of me, but we were buddies, and we were in the park all the time playing ball. And that's where I got started up with Jimmy and Tommy O'Connor playing ball, and Dookie Avery was always there. Jimmy Epps was always there. And I guess being as short as I was, I shot him from deep, and I could hit him.
Now, were you still a basketball fan? You watched the game?
Oh, yeah, I watched.
Who's your team?
Well, of course, I always loved the Celtics, but anything to do with a ball, I love it. Baseball, basketball, golf, all the sports.
You played golf too?
I played golf. I played the RIGA, which is Rhode Island Golf Association. I played with Connecticut State Seniors, which we played the best golf courses in New England, playing with those groups. And I got it down to a 6 handicap at one time, but that was a bit difficult. I played a better 9 than the 6. But I played a lot with Dick Hedden, Dickie McGovern.
That's my cousin, you know.
Dickie McGovern?
Yeah.
The greatest. Frank Londrigan, Amira New London, was my Saturday group with Cam Perrone, John Shine, Eric Smith. I've met the greatest people, the most wonderful people in my life at New London Country Club. When we owned New London Country Club, not the way it is today.
You still play?
I play a little bit in Florida. I lost both shoulders, so I have trouble with swinging the club, but I can still hit it, and not like I used to.
Eye-to-hand coordination. Did you play baseball?
I played baseball. I played with Richie Conover. Now, we're talking sports, and the best athlete at New London High School back in my day was Richie Conover. Charlie Petchock was probably one of the best also, but Richie was, and Dookie Avery. Whatever had to be done, they could do it. Those are the best athletes, but I played baseball, basketball, and I played a little football. I got tore up pretty good in football my freshman year, so O'Brien told me, just play basketball. So
And what did O'Brien, when you were on the basketball court, what did he tell you to do?
There was times he'd call me right over and say, listen, every time you get the ball, you shoot it. Don't give it to nobody. I shot 70%, and that's the truth.
And how about your foul shots? You had quite a...
Foul shots my senior year, I was 119 out of 123 from the foul line.
Tremendous.
I remember against Johnny Egan, I was 17 out of 17 from the foul line against Johnny Egan, who became all-pro, played for Providence College. And they won the states, and they won the New Englands, and we knocked them off my senior year. As we knocked off, NFA was 18-0, undefeated. We beat them. We were like a 60-40 team, but we knocked off 2 of the best teams in the state of Connecticut.
What do you attribute, Bill, your remarkable memory to? I don't remember anything. You seem to have everything right on.
I'm very fortunate because I do. My memory is, people talk to me about this, that, and whatever. My auto racing, I can go back and when I was running down south, I can name every one of the drivers I raced with down south, and big names, a lot of them, of course. And my mom, 94 years old, she was the same way. Her memory was just outstanding. So I'm very fortunate to have that. And
You're probably best known for your auto racing.
When I was in New London High School, I remember taking Richie Evans. Richie Evans is probably the greatest modified driver in the country. And I raced with Richie.
So you would have been 17, 18?
17 or 18, but Richie Evans, when I talk about Richie, that's why I keep bringing up that name, because I raced with him so many years. But Richie Conover, and I would take him home. I had a little 41 Ford coupe. After basketball practice, I would take him home after basketball practice some nights, and if it was a little snowy, I loved it because I'd go down Hodges Square, and it looked like a little quarter-mile racetrack, and I would take 10 or 15 laps around there, pretty hot. And Richie, he said, I hung on for dear life. He said, I remember saying my prayers sometimes riding with you, Billy. But I would never had hurt them. I drove the car just to have some fun.
All right, so when did you get into actually stock car racing?
When the Speedball opened in '51, I was there for the very first event, and I don't think I missed one for years. I couldn't drive till I was 21 back then, and that was 1959, and I wanted to drive. I said, the minute I see the race cars, I want to do this. My brother had a race car. The Foster twins had race cars.
Excuse me, Bill. This thing never goes off when you want it to. I thought I shut it off. I apologize for that. So you started racing at the Speedball before you were old enough.
I did.
And who were some of the drivers that you raced again then?
Well, back in the day, there was, of course, the 106 Don Collins. He was then, and probably still is, probably the best ever to run at the Speedball, along with Bobby Potter. But Ted Stack, oh my God, Charlie Webster.
Where were they from?
They were local guys. Ted was from Quaker Hill. Charlie was from Groton. Don Collins was from Willimantic. And these guys were the best of the best. Bill Slater from Hartford. These guys were big, big names. They're all Hall of Famers, every one of them. But that's the group I started with. And most drivers start with a hobby car. They go into a different class, the lower class, and work their way up. I did not want to do that. I wanted to drive with the best, to learn the best way. So my first car was a full-blown modified race car. And I finished in the top 10 in points my rookie year, and I was Rookie of the Year, presented by Johnny Brower, which is our handicapper at the time. And basically, Johnny is a legend, Johnny Brower, from Brower's Nursery.
Yeah.
And his dad now, after time went by, his dad was one of the owners of the Speedball also, with Bill Hoffman. Bill Hoffman got in with Jack Brower, and they had 12.5% each of them.
So that's when Richie Benvenuti was
Benvenuti,
involved in the setup?
Benvenuti and Nocetta, of course, the guy was Tony Albino. Kid Tony, they called him. And Tony had arthritis so bad, his knuckles are like this, his feet were like that. But what a guy. We ought all come to the Speedball and be 50 kids, all hanging around the back gate, because we don't have any money. And we'd hang around that back gate, and here comes Tony before the races start. Take the key out, unlock the key. Come on in, guys. Every single night, about 50 of us. And we all respected that. And we all respected Tony. What a wonderful guy. I have a big picture in my garage right now of Tony. I see him every day. And that was my start of it. And I always wanted to drive race cars, and I did.
All right, so you became champion at times, and from Waterford Speedball, when did you move up to the next level? Where was that?
In 1964, I was driving the L&M, which was a famous car talked about still today at the Speedball. There was 11 titles at the track. Fastest qualifier, fastest 10 laps, 15 laps. I had every one of them with that car. I broke 11 track records that one year in that L&M. It was a laid down 6-cylinder against the modified V8s, and we whipped them. We whipped them with that car. It didn't weigh nothing. And I got a offer from Roland Ballinger out of Eddie Flemke country up there in Sulington. Gave me a nice chunk of cash to leave the speedball and go racing 4 nights a week with him, which I did.
So you were making a living off of racing at that time?
Yes, I was. I went upstate New York, and I was running Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which I wanted to do. It was very difficult for my family life, and I think I was a bit selfish to do it, but it was something I had to do, and I was going to do it. But I had 2 children at the time, and I was away racing most of the time. But it was wonderful. I wouldn't give it up for nothing. Upstate New York, Albany, Saratoga Speedway, Plattsburgh, New York, into Canada. We ran some at Canada. Utica, Rome, Fonda. It was wonderful. Down to Old Bridge, New Jersey, Richmond, Virginia, Seekonk Speedway in Seekonk, Mass. Martinsville, Virginia. We ran a lot at Martinsville, which they just ran the Cup cars there this week. Tough track. Down into the Carolinas, some in Florida.
And that season would run from what dates?
We'd be starting racing. Our first race was in March, and that was in Martinsville, Virginia. They opened up the season in Martinsville. I remember snowing, snow flakes the size of silver dollars coming down, cold in Virginia. But we start there, and then little by little it would dissipate and go into running back home here at Thompson, Stafford, upstate New York, up until the end of October.
How close did you get to Daytona?
I live in Daytona right now, but I ran Daytona. I had a few races at Daytona, and I did some tire testing for Goodyear for a whole week of speed weeks. After speed weeks, we could go do some tire testing and make $100 a day, which was a lot of fun. And we'd run from 160 to 170 miles an hour on different types of tires testing. Sometimes they wanted you to test it till you blow the tire, but that was a little scary. I don't want to blow a tire at 160, 170 miles an hour, which we lost one of our friends doing that. His name was Billy Wade. He blew a tire and cost him his life.
Did you know Perkins from Quaker Hill?
Oh, the Perkins guys. Bobby Perkins.
Bobby Perkins was a great race car fan.
Big race car fan. Donnie Allison. Bobby Allison was his guys. And Bobby and his wife, Bobby was about, there was a lot of Perkinses.
Yeah.
And the Perkins family was pretty rough.
Deep.
They were tough.
Yeah.
Bobby was a peach. He was a different character, I would say. But
he spent the winter, many winters following the races in Florida.
what's that again?
And he'd go to, in the wintertime, he always used to go to 500. And,
He never missed a race, as I never did. I
took
had
some beautiful pictures.
I had pictures. I had seats in the Weatherly Towers for probably 25 years. I've been to Florida. I was just thinking the other day, 63 straight years I've been going to Florida. If it wasn't just for the races, but now of course I have a home there. But that's a lot of years going down the pike.
So, Billy, what's different in today's racing versus when you were racing? Certainly, the speeds are faster. The engines are bigger. Is the racing driving the car the same, or what talent does a race car driver today have that you guys, and vice versa? What did you have that they didn't have?
Well, our cars were harder to drive than what they have today. Our cars were difficult to drive. We didn't have power steering. We were all
No power steering.
not until Jeff Bodine came along, and he's the one that started all the money comes in big, and he won 63 shows in 1 year for Armstrong out of Massachusetts. And this is where our racing, as we knew it, came to an end, because if you couldn't build a car for $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. Now you have to bring up around $50,000 to $60,000 to keep up the way Bodine was running. and all the NASCAR guys, they all went to that type of racing, and it was big money. But our cars back then were probably faster than they are today. We had bigger horsepower than they did. I had 500-600 horsepower on some cars, whereas today they still put out around that, I guess. But the cubic inch, we were much bigger. Big blocks, those things would just shake you loose. They were so fast. But
What talent does a race car driver have? What do you need to be a good race car driver, and why do some people excel at it?
it's all right here. To be a good race car driver, people think you've got to be nuts. Well, it's not that you have to be nuts. To drive a race car, you have to love the sport and you want to do it. Everybody going to get in a race car is going to get hurt sooner or later. But a good race driver has a lot of smarts, a lot of thought. You just don't go out there and go balls deep, driving it out of control. Drive it in hard, smooth. Bobby Potter, the smoothest guy out there. Don Collins, Ted Stack, Charlie Webster, Dick Beauregard. Beauregard was a little wild, but in my day, but he was good. And there's this young kid right now from Waterford, Brody Monahan, 14 years old. This kid is out of this world.
Now, I read about him all the time. He's 14 years old, and he's got this unbelievable talent.
This kid is so good. It's hard for me to watch. I watch him because I hang out with him now and his dad. He is so smooth and so fast. It's unbelievable. He has control. And his years last year, he won the series he was in, which is called the Legend cars. They're running 102 miles an hour. And there's some girls in these cars also. He won that. I think he won 14 shows last year in that. They put him in the trucks, which is an upper class, which is a difficult class to run. He dominated that. He won the championship of that this year. And he's going to be honored Saturday at the Speed Bowl for their last race.
Where do you see him going, Bill?
This kid can go anywhere he wants to go. His parents are in control with him. His parents have the finances to keep, for local type racing. But he went down south last week. He was invited to go down south on a track he's never seen, which is bigger than the Speed Bowl. He was the fastest thing there in a car he'd never been in. It was a 75 lapper. He led it for 44 laps. And he got spun by one of the hot shots down there, but he still finished up front. The kid is little Brody Monahan. Remember that name, because as good as they come.
Who's some of the big race car names that you've met through the years?
Well, the biggest name out there when I was racing, of course, was Richard Petty. Richard, I know Richard personally. My brother did a genealogy years ago, and he says, "Do you know a Rebecca Petty?" I said, "Richard's mother's name was Rebecca. How about a Lee Petty?" He's asking me these questions. He knew nothing about racing, my brother Paul. I said, "Lee Petty is Richard's father." He says, "We're cousins." I don't tell anybody that because I'm a cousin of Richard Petty's. I don't want to throw that out there because it sounds a little fictional, I think. And Richard knows it, and Kyle knows it, Kyle Petty. I've sent him the Harman papers. I've had the Petty papers. But I met them all. Fireball Roberts, the big name back in the day. Junior Johnson. Of course, Bodine. I raced with Jeff Bodine for years and years, and he was one of NASCAR's best. Earnhardt, Dale Earnhardt. I was with Dale 2 days before he passed away.
Really?
He got killed, yes. Ronnie Bouchard, Georgie Summers. I was in the pits with Ronnie and Georgie, and Bouchard called us over. "Come on in." Because you don't go behind the line in that garage. But we were welcome in his facility. Just don't stand out there and talk to him. Come on back with me. And he lost his life that year, which it never should have happened. He was doing something he should not have been doing. He wasn't racing like he would have. He was trying to hold up the pack. So his son, or Michael Waltrip, won the race, and they were both Earnhardt cars, and Dale was running third, and he was trying to keep the guys behind him by being a little sideways on the track at 190 miles an hour. And 6 seconds left in that race from here to the start finish line. He got killed. And
I used to love to listen to Chris Economaki.
Chris Economaki.
Is he still alive?
No. Chris was a good friend of mine.
Really?
Chris was, when I was at Old Bridge, New Jersey, Chris was the announcer at Old Bridge, New Jersey. And of course, out-of-town guy like myself was Gene Bergen, Billy Slater, Denny Zimmerman. We're all New England guys, Connecticut guys. We would go to Old Bridge, and the announcer was Chris Economaki. And he'd up us guys because outsiders coming in and racing with his, so to speak, guys. But Chris was...
Nobody could announce like he.
What a guy. Well, we have Kenny Squire from Vermont, who owned the Speedway in Vermont, Catamount Speedway. Became the biggest thing in NASCAR racing was Ken Squire, over Economaki, as it kind of passed him in time, but another good friend of mine, too. I'm so fortunate the friends I had through racing. Even from the announcers to guys like Tony Albino, the promoters, the owners, Joe Lessick, upstate New York, Albany, Saratoga.
Now, did you keep in touch, Billy, over the years with the racing community?
Oh, yeah. I was always involved somewhat with the community. It was my whole life. It was my dream, and there was no stopping me. Like I said.
I suspect by talking with you today, racing was your favorite passion.
It certainly was. But when I'm watching sports on TV now, football's got them all beat. I love football. I love to watch football. But auto racing, it's changed so much. I mean, I remember in Daytona, you couldn't get a seat in Daytona.
So these Daytona guys, are they all getting ready for the race?
Oh.
Now?
They have, if you went to Daytona now, if you went to the garage area in the Carolinas, where they're all grouped together. That's where they live in Charlotte, Mooresville, Charlotte, South Carolina. All the teams are there. And you go into those garages, like the Penske garage, there's 15 to 20 race cars, all ready to go. There's probably 30, 40 guys building new ones. It's a constant thing. Every week they got a brand new race car to run. How they do it is beyond me. And the tires, they'll go through 10 to 15 sets of tires in one race.
Big money.
Big money. If you don't have, well, there was a saying, if you want to make a small fortune in racing, you start with a big one. And that stands true today. It's big money. It's a great sport. And,
are you a Chevy guy or a Ford guy?
Am I what?
You a Chevy guy or a Ford guy?
No, it made no difference to me. I won races with Chevys and Fords. Matter of fact, I was a Thompson champion in '73 with Tuck Hoffman and Bruce Cohen. And the only Ford on the racetrack was my car. Or they were all Chevys. And we won the championship. It was the engine operated a little different. It wasn't quick off the turn, but halfway down, it had much more horsepower than the Chevys had. And a lot of the guys tried the Fords, but they went back to Chevys. They were hard to keep cool. The engine wanted to run up around 260, 270, which is way too hot. And it's hard to control that temperature. But it was...
You know, getting back to the speedball a bit, I used to love Mike Saluka. Used to have a show.
Mike Saluka.
On there's a character. He used to have a show on I think it was the radio about Waterford speedball. It was great entertainment. I know he stopped it for some reason. In between your racing days, Bill, you were also one of the greatest painters in the area. At Millstone, I remember you giving me tips. I had just bought my house, and I was trying to do painting, which my wife still doesn't like my painting, but after Millstone, you went into business, Connecticut General Painting. Tell us about that experience.
Yes, that was we created Connecticut General Painting, and I was the owner of the company. We had a union shop and a non-union shop, which a union shop is very difficult to operate because of the cost. The cost is probably 3 times to run that. The different way you have to pay your bills and stuff through a union, but we didn't operate much out of the union. But I did have, at one time, almost 40 people, which was very difficult. Coming back to a non-union shop, which I basically was, we did a lot of hotel work, a lot of churches. I can remember not missing a day in 360 days of work.
You guys were all over at that time.
We were all over. There was nobody bigger than Connecticut General. And then I sold a business when I turned 65, and I had lost both shoulders, both rotators. I lost, and I remember just trying to load the ladders on a truck, and I couldn't do it.
And tell us, Bill, how you got into painting. That was interesting.
Oh, when I was just a teenager, my brother Buddy was working for C.M. Crandall, and he brought me along one day. Come on, they need a couple guys. And
now, is that the Crandall from Ledyard?
Bud Crandall, horse thief. They called him the horse thief. What a guy, unbelievable. But that was C.M. Crandall and Sons, and they did a lot of different work. They did a lot of moving heavy equipment, which you would learn how to do it with a Johnson bar, they called it. You put a Johnson bar, you push down, you could move tons just with this little bar. And they did stuff like that. But they did a lot of high work, a lot of towers, water tanks. And I was 17, 18 years old, up 80, 90 feet on a water tank, and quite an experience. But I enjoyed it. And I was up the radio towers. I did all the radio towers at New London, putting the beacons on the 120-foot towers at the radio station. I went up the Norwich radio towers with 360 feet. That's a long haul to do work. And then I got called to go to Millstone, which was out of this world, the work we did at Millstone. That wasn't through my company, that was through the union. But the money was crazy. I had one check at Millstone that they took out of my check $1,850. That's how crazy it was. $3,000-4,000 a week sometime. Unheard of. And that was in the 70s. I bought a 72 Dodge Charger, brand new. I paid for it in 4 weeks. That was Millstone. But and then I started Connecticut General Painting, and very successful for 30 years. And I sold a business, and the one I sold it to bankrupted in 6 months. Bankrupted, closed it down, and
Did you retire at that point?
oh yes, I had. That's why I retired. The one I sold it to, his name was Joe. He knew I was ready to retire because I was struggling with my. I used to like to do all the high work. I enjoyed that, but I was having, my arms weren't working properly. So he told me it's time to go. He's going to buy the business. He bought it and he bankrupted, and I never got paid for it. It was a sad day in my life because I worked so hard to create a good business. I believe we were the biggest things in Southeastern Connecticut. The work we did, we were all over. The Crystal Mall, I did the whole Crystal Mall, inside, outside. Things like that. The churches, a lot of the churches, no Lyme. All the churches, no Lyme. The hotels, wall covering inside hotels. During the winter months, we'd put these jobs aside. If we could do them in 120 units, all inside during the cold weather, it was wonderful. So we had a very successful life. I really did.
So Billy, winter times you got a place in Florida. Here we are in end of October, 1st of November. Usually you're in Florida this time of year. I was lucky to get you. Where are you? What are you headed for? When are you going to Florida, and what's your winter look like?
Well, this is the longest I've been here in Connecticut, because I'm usually back the 29th of October. Ted Marsh, who I drove race cars for, finished sixth in the nation for Ted. He's being inducted into the Hall of Fame the 5th of the month. So I'm here for the reason to be at his induction.
How old is he now?
Teddy's 83.
Still in good shape?
Oh, Teddy's unbelievable. He still has race cars from Whaling Engineering. He still has garages, no Lyme. Very successful, him and his wife and his family. What a family. His son Jeff is CEO of Whaling now, and that's as big as it comes. Whaling is, if you look at any of the races, all you see is Whelen, W-H-E-L-E-N. That's his, used to be STP, was the biggest name out there. Now it's Whelan. Sonny Whelan.
Yeah.
Sonny Whelan. See all these lights in here? They're probably Whelan lights. Your police cruisers, your
Dennis
ambulance.
Piscatello flies the jet for Whalen, right?
I fly with him sometimes.
Come on.
If the plane was going, Piscatella.
He's a great grandfather, you know.
He is.
Oh, he's got a grandson that's a character, and Dennis is the best grandfather ever.
Well, Dennis, if the plane, I talked to Dennis that night at the Italian club, and he said if the plane is flying the south that weekend, I'd be on it with Ted, but it's not going to happen. But it would have been nice to get a direct flight in with Whaling jet, you know, for zero. But this year I'm flying out of New Haven, which is a direct flight to Daytona. It's terrific. So that's.
Now, do you follow racing down there?
Oh, certainly, yeah. I don't go to the speedway yard I used to. I still can get credentials to be in the pit area at Daytona. But I follow some of the ARCA people. I'll see Jeff Bodine down there. I'll be out with him for one whole week with the ARCA crew because he's involved with some of the people. And then I go to New Smyrna Speedway, which is a half mile, very fast half mile during the week. And then there's Volusia County, which is a half mile dirt. And that's exciting racing with some of the finest in the country still running there. I've had an outstanding life.
Billy, you've always been a gentleman and just a easy guy to talk to.
I appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure knowing you all these years. I'm sorry that we lost touch for so many years, but is there anything else that you'd like to say before we close on? I want you to come back, consider coming back when you come back from Florida.
Oh, certainly. But one of my biggest things now is my kitty cat. I lost my wife 11 years now because we traveled together.
Donna, right?
My wife, Donna. She was lovely. I lost my first wife at 32 years old with my 2 children. So Donna, we had no children with Donna. But still, I have 18 grandchildren on my side and 10 on Donna's side. So my birthday was just the other day, October 29th. They had a big time for me at Mr. G's, and there was 35 of my grandkids there, and in family. What a time.
Doesn't get any better than that, Billy. Grandkids are the best, aren't they?
Oh, I look at those kids and I said, how do they ever do this? I mean, they're beautiful. Just beautiful. Of course, Mary Ellen, my first wife, she was a Sullivan. She was big blue eyes, Irish. That's where my children come from. Donna's side, she had 3 children. We have no children between us, but we were married for 30 years. And her family, same thing, just wonderful. But my kitty cat now, I got a little buddy. He flies with me, and he's a big part of my life. An animal, so it's a wonder what they can do. Like just this morning, I'm watching the news. He sits there, put his head there, and just lays there. And what a thrill it is.
What color cat is it?
He's black and white. His name is Bandit. He looks like a little bandit. And is he just a friend?
Now, you think they got a personality, Billy, the cat?
This cat's nuts. Personality. That cat will sit behind those plants and put his head up over the top to see if I'm looking. Next thing you know, he's on me and he jumps on me like he's going to scare the daylights out of me. Now, that's personality. And he knows just what he's doing.
Where'd you get him?
He's a Florida cat. Because I lost my kitty in Florida. He passed away one night. He was 11 years old. I woke up and his name is Leo. Beautiful cat, and he died in bed with me. He was just laying there. And then I got another kitty in Florida. But I've always been a big dog lover. There's nothing in this world like a dog. They said dog's the best, man's best friend, and there's no doubt about it. But my kitty is also. But being in Florida with a dog or traveling is difficult, and I wouldn't do that. But with a cat, it's fairly easy. I just love them to death.
Billy Harman, famous race car driver. Thank you for your time, Bill.
Murray, thank you.
Hope we can do this again.
I hope so. I'll have more stories for you.
Murray, signing off from the city. Too tough to die, New London. New London legend right here with us today.
Appreciate it, my pal.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you so much.